Ooh, let's go. Man, I was looking at a good video and it actually correlates to what I'm talking about, let go in the past. Oh, Mocha Cafe, her video, man. I just posted it in my I just posted in my community tab. I be posting a lot of good videos. Shout out to the brother Omega Breeze Omega. I always be talking about my videos. We back. All right. So always with these calls. Yeah, man. So yeah. I mean, crazy. But as it as it plays out, man, it's going on to what I was talking about her channel, and letting go of the past. A lot of people hold on to stuff too much and too long, to the point where you can't move on in life because you literally so caught up on your past. I mean, I always talk about finance. I always talk about, motivation, health, healing. Nigga, what's going on? So when it comes down to it, a lot of us are stuck in this cycle. It's like a horror story in your life. You are literally stuck in your own demise like this horror story, to where you constantly wake up every day and you seriously just go through this process of dealing with this thing constantly over and again. I mean, it's not even just a gender thing, because I see a lot of women go through this just as men. They have breakups and they complain about the way their last relationship was, how it wasn't going so well. Then they turn around and ultimately carry it over into the new relationship. Now you got all these bad emotions, bad feelings coming out, and you're putting it off on the new people. So then that begins to be a problem, you know. And yeah, like that pain is a pleasant feeling to a lot of people, because they go through it so much versus them trying to, get over it, do better in life. They're constantly just harping on this pain. Just like when it comes down to it, man, hey, there's no other way out of it. Like they just feel as if, man, as long as I keep going through the fire, keep getting burned, this is something that's worth it. And so you have a lot of issue with people trying to get through the fire, trying to get through the pain, and they just don't know how to cope. You know how many people literally go through situations and they don't have nobody to talk to? I mean, I've talked about this before, having family members who passed and they were your lifeline. So now you just living life by yourself, just trying to cope with a lot of that stuff. It causes so much pain, and then you deal with so many people who, just generally just go through the motions like, this is the way I should live my life. This is the way life should be for me. I should go through this all the time. I should always have this burden. I should always have this pain, you know? And it's just sometimes you even have that game that people play, that misery loves company, to the point where if I'm miserable, I'm gonna make you miserable. I'm gonna make you have issue, conflict with family and friends, to where we both can be in the same boat. I've literally been on this YouTube and heard stories of people say, I want to see you suffer just like with me. There was this one lady, she was pregnant, and her internet friend, who she actually met on the internet and was talking to, they were going through it, and she was literally saying how When it come down to it, this lady, she would tell her, man, I'm having a baby. I had miscarriages before. I hope this baby come out all right. And the lady said, well, I was praying for your baby to die. This was all came out later on. And she was like, man, it was for some reason she didn't never want her child to babysit the kid. And when the child was always to a point of getting ready to babysit the kid, like another family member or somebody will pop up and be like, oh, I'll do it. So it's always, well, maybe next time, you know. And it got to a point to where I don't know what happened between them. I forgot what a lady just came out and said it. Like, I wanted your life to be miserable. I wanted you to go through so much pain and see how I used to feel. So they both got pregnant at the same time. Her baby came out fine. The other lady had, complications, but overall the baby came out healthy. You know, her husband was going through some things. Even though he didn't cheat, the other lady, her husband cheated. So she was like, since my husband cheated, I wanted your husband to cheat. I wanted you to feel that same pain. So when you was getting on your husband and he was, hanging out, drinking at the bar every night, I wanted him to come home and cheat. It was just like a miserable thing. And it was to the point where it was so crazy that she was like, man, how could you wish this up upon me? And we've been friends. Like, they literally met each other online. I think it was Facebook. Then they started being friends. They started trying to do social media influence channels together. And they were two different states. And they tried to make it work. And then they started going more and more at it. And it was like, the more they started going through the process, it was horrible. Like, the lady just broke it all down. And she was like, man, I would have never thought in a million years, because she said she had her family didn't really talk to her like that. She had issues with her dad. That's why she had to move, because, her dad touched her and stuff. So she had a lot of issues that she was going through with in life. And this was just something else to make the situation even worse. And, as she got over those issues dealing with this new girl, but she thought that was her friend, turned out, man, issues were just in hiding. They were all in plain sight. And it's like, this was a hindrance to her to actually build friendship with other people due to that. And that's what I was saying. Like, even in relationships, a lot of people will carry baggage from an old relationship and not let go of the past. So how can you generally move forward to having a great relationship with someone else, and you're going through this bad stuff, that you're breaking from your past? What's going on, boss lady? And it was like crazy how all this stuff just came about. How, a lot of people was like listening to her talking about this relationship or a friend. It kind of brought me into certain issues that I had with my friends and situations that I was like, man, it really put like sort of a damper on your spirit to like, man, I've been knowing people for so long. You're the godfather of my kids. How could you have this much animosity towards me? Or how could you feel this way towards me? And it hurts. A lot of times people go through the motions of hurt feelings, but I can't say it's a man and woman thing. It's actually a person thing, because with me, I got over it easy, you know. But I know some people they take it a little harder, you know. Like, that process is really a big growing process for you to actually understand the situation that you're going through and not let the next person get the trauma behind it. Let's say in an instance something happened like that with me with one of my best friends. It'll be harder for me to trust people more and more. But the thing of it is, it's like, I can't let the next person take all that trauma and say, man, I got to keep my eye out for this person. This is a new person. It's a thing to be cautious about situations that come about. But then it's another thing to actually put people in that, frame of mind and say, well, you have certain characteristics like my last friend, so I'm gonna put you in the same boat. You got to actually learn how to get over this stuff. You know, And with a lot of people, they fail to learn that due to, like I said, interactions with others. There's literally a lot of people, they have trauma from family, friends, and they just keep carrying that on. You know, if your mom did you wrong, you'll carry that on, and you'll have trust issues with people because if you can't trust your mom, your dad, or family, you're gonna bring that over to everybody, every single relationship. You know, even into a relationship between your significant other, to the point where you only can trust them so much. You know, even me and my wife talked about this, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of pushback on this, and people gonna get on me in the chat. But I've said this before that I don't fully trust my wife, and this guy ran down on me. Just, oh, you're so bad, man. How could you say that about your wife? And your wife did what? But I'm like, I always say that because people change. Not saying I don't love my wife. Not saying that, if a situation occurs, I can't trust her, but I just don't trust 100. I don't trust people 100%. And the reason I always say that is because people change. Even the conversation me and my wife had about it. She said the Bible tells you shouldn't trust people 100%. Because just like you said, people will change. You know, how many people have been married for 20 years and then just all of a sudden wake up and say the love is not here no more. I'm gone. You know how many people are brothers or brother and sister and they get to a point in life where they say, I never really liked you, or I just feel that we growed apart. Even with friends, they do this. So, it's just a point of reference to where, to me, it's like a coping to where if I don't say you're 100, then I can't be mad at the results what comes out. And it might seem difficult to most, but that's how I look at it. If I'm not telling somebody they're 100 and it comes down to a situation, like I said, well, I had an inkling about you might do this, so it's not a bad feeling or a bad thing for me, you know. And like I said, it's not nothing hurt about trauma, past in the back. Someone did me wrong. They took my puppy. They took my money. It was just a point of reference. Is like I said, over time, I just looked at different standings, dealing with different people, and just noticed that the more you put that big, big trust, mahogany, what's going on, people just fail. And so I don't have a problem with a person, doing that because I've already accounted for that. I've already accounted for you not standing on, as they say now, business and having a purpose in what you said you're going to do. So if you change up, it's not a heartbreaker to me. I mean, personally with me, I don't take things the hard as most. So it's not a big effect on me. As to others, they might say, man, this is a travesty. I didn't see this coming, and it'll hurt them dearly. But with me, like I said, it won't be a thing because, you know, if I'm not trusting you 100%, it's always going to be a small doubt. And that small doubt will, and generally, in my opinion, protects me from, having that, all moment and going crazy. I say, people are people. There's a saying, trust the snake will bite you. Trust it. A snake is a snake. If a snake wouldn't be a snake, would you expect the snake to be anything other than a snake? A rabbit? No, it's a snake. Trust the snake will bite you. So when it comes down to decision making, if I have that understanding, I know how to move. So if you ever, get to a point, there's no love loss. I'm not holding on to grudges. I have people who I haven't talked to in years. There's people who I have talked to over the course of a few months and things of that nature. I just keep my distance. It's not no love lost. I don't walk around with a grudge. saying I hate this person, this and that, because I pretty much look at hate as a strong word, due to a lot of reference of the Bible and saying if you have hate in your heart for man, how can God have, love for you? So that's one of the things I kind of rarely don't go with, having so much hate for people. But at the same time, I can have a disdain for someone to where I don't approve of their behavior. So it's just better for me not to deal with that person. There's no love lost if I'm not putting myself in position to lose or to be in a situation I don't want to be in. And that's why I tell a lot of people to understand who you're dealing with. So you won't have that, you know, bad vibe that'll, ruin things in your life. There are a lot of people who miss out on job opportunities because of that their behaviors from situation with other jobs. Oh, this job acts the same as my other job. Nope, I don't want to do this job. Oh, this person, I don't like this person. I don't want to deal with that person. It comes to a point where a lot of people have that, what is it called? Fight or flight mode. And that fight or flight mode, it always have you more or less, in my opinion, in a stand of defense, to where, oh, what are you going to do? What's next? See, I knew it was going to happen, and just live life. I can't harp on every little situation in a past relationship and bring it into my marriage. I would have never got married. If I would have went through every situation dealing with so much trauma, it would have left me in a position to where I couldn't deal with my wife because, oh, my girlfriend did me this way, or this person did me that way. You got to learn how to get through these things. You got to learn how to grow. You got to learn how to be the bigger person. I've always talked to people in their situations, they deal with certain things, and I've always told them, I said, man, look, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes to a degree, you know, but the point of it is, what do we do with our mistakes? What type of issues that we hinder us from, growing as people, growing as individuals, not letting things hold us back? That's our number one goal, is to more or less be successful at certain things in life. Letting the past hold you back from the future. There are a lot of people that could have got married if they would have, just sit there and had better guidance. Came to a point where somebody was pushing them forth in the right direction. The great advice I got when I was young and got married. I always tell people I was happy I got married at 25. That was one of the goals I had anyway, to get married. I had to wrote a list, and I always talk about this. When I was in high school, I actually wrote a list of things that I wanted to do. I want to have about 2 kids, be married, house, car, and a business. I had a business at the time. Car, didn't have a car. I pretty much didn't need a car. Didn't have a house because I was, figured out I worked out of town a lot. At one point I was out of town at least 200 days out of the year. So at 365, I was home 165 days. Sometimes less than that. I remember at one point, they did the numbers. I was only home 3 months out of 1 year. And that was sporadically, not constantly at one time. And most of the time I kept those days, towards the winter when my job that I had slowed down. So, having good advice can help me avoid pitfalls. Not let me get to a point of holding grudges where, my past hold me back for my future. I had a failed business, and if I would have didn't learn from my failed business, it wouldn't have got me in the process of opening more business and starting new ventures to, more or less make money. A lot of times we let issues from our past hinder us, hold us back to the point we can't focus on the future, focus on the best or the good things are going to be better for us in life because we're so caught up on, all the stuff that was wrong, that happened wrong, or we did wrong. You know, more or less, just keep going. Even to the point where I talk about budgeting. Ramit, he has a podcast on YouTube. I think he has his own channel, but the name of his YouTube channel is "I Want to Teach You to Be Rich." I'm always putting him in my community tab, and this guy, financial advisor, accountant, and he always breaking down the numbers and talking about how to live your rich life. So that's why he has a channel. I want to teach you to be rich. And I think it's I want to teach you, I will teach you to be rich. One of them, but understand what I'm saying. Like, more or less, I'm always watching that, and he's breaking down things that people are doing to make themselves better. It's not the point of having a whole bunch of money and have $1 billion in the bank. It's to the point of you actually feeling comfortable about the money that you spend. That's why I'm always talking about a budget, because the past, it helps with your future. History repeats itself if you allow it. If you get to a point where, you were doing bad in life, 10 times out of 10, it's going to happen again if you haven't learned from that mistake. 10 times out of 10, if you're not doing the necessary things to adjust your life, to make your life better, do things to move forward, your past will technically haunt you. And that's more or less a lot of issues a lot of people have. Cool Gamer 2 is going on. And it comes to a point where a lot of us, man, we have so many things that hinder our past. We got to let go. Seek counseling. I've always said talk to someone. If you can't deal with a counselor, talk to someone you confide in and trust. But, each relationships, it takes a vetting process. Tell them some things that might not be true and see how far it goes. To the point of you saying, hey, I knew you was going to say this. That's why I ultimately said it. Because technically nowadays, it's hard to trust. And a lot of times people will throw this stuff in your face when they get mad at you. To have dark secrets for someone and just keep them. You know how many secrets, bones I got laying in my closet about stuff, about people? And I've had several bad arguments with them. I never brought that up with them. Never threw it in their face. Like, oh man, yeah. Remember when this happened? You did this. You told me about this. It's like prime example, like the Kevin Hart. The eating butt thing that he jokes about. It's funny, but it's like something like that. Nobody don't want to know. Let people know that you do that. Like it's a crazy thing, but when people get mad, they will do stuff like that. Throw it in your face. So have an understanding. A lot of times these therapists they're privy to client. What is it? The HIPAA, to where attorney-client privilege type thing, like a lawyer, to where they're not supposed to be telling people your business. But I've heard sometimes about doctors and lawyers that just talking amongst me. They won't say the name, but they'll talk about the situation, And man, this guy, he's going crazy. I always tell him to leave his household. The woman, I always tell her, stop dealing with this man. But ultimately, it's up to the person to make that decision. And I've always said it. When it comes to a point when you are fed up and you can't take it anymore, that's when you're willing to seek help. That's when you're willing to set a point of having an understanding like, man, I can't do this. I told my wife that several times. DC, what's going on? He said, Jay, in the building. It comes to a point where when you're fed up, that's when you'll do better. I've always talked to my aunt. She struggled with weight loss. and stuff. And I've always told her when it comes to a point when you really want to deal with it, you'll deal with it. You know, you're going to seek the help. I mean, like I said, prime issue with me, when I had got to like 250, I'm too, like, well, I'm actually lower than 275 now, but I'm getting back up there because I've been eating a lot, not working out as much. I just been working more. So I've been laying down on that food. And that's what I always ask the pounds. Eating late, because I get off late, I eat late, sleep on it, and it doesn't do nothing but just soak into the body. So, you know, when it got to a point, I think I got like to 250, and I was like, man, I gotta start cutting back. So I just said I'll go vegan. So I stopped eating bread, stopped eating cheese, stopped trying to eat all the things. What's going on, Miss T? Stop trying to eat all the things that literally got me to the point of, like, I thought that was making me gain the weight. So I was like, yeah, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead, don't eat no more cheese, no more dairy. I don't drink milk anyway, so sour cream. Main thing I eat was cheese. Got to a point, no bread, no eggs. I'm talking about no animals, no meat, no fish, all vegetables all the time. I was literally eating like 7 times a day. And believe it or not, I was losing the weight. Like, I literally was losing the weight. And a lot of people's like, man, you crazy. You wasn't losing no weight eating 7 times a day. But it was small meals, portionable small meals. And when it came down to it, I started doing a little workout regimen. But I would walk, you know, do the little just calisthenics, jumping jacks, push-ups, thing called mountain climbers where people work out. You put your hands down, you get into like an arch back position, and you just keep picking up your legs. So I was doing that literally for a minute, and it got to a point to where I lost so much weight. I went down like a pant size or two, and people noticed it. People like, what are you doing? Like, your skin is clear and all that. And it got to a point where I was like, man, I like this. But over time, like I say, the more you work, the more you start taking away from stuff, and I gained the weight back because I wasn't, steady. But, like I told my aunt, when you're ready to lose, because I put my aunt on a little diet plan, because my cousin, he was telling me about somebody he knows. Trust what's going on. It was an issue with somebody he knew that, had a weight issue, and they went and had the surgery. I don't know if it was the sleeve, the gastro, whatever it was, but they ended up having the surgery. And when they went and had the surgery, they literally um lost. I mean, they not lost, but they actually got off their blood pressure medicine. They went on. They told them that they had to go on a liquid diet for 2 weeks before they had the surgery, and they couldn't drink. All they had to do was drink. That's it, water and juice. And they had to juice a lot of their stuff that they need for the nutrients. They basically give you a calendar, tell you the things that you can juice. No food, like no juice and chicken. Not trying to make soup or nothing like that. I think the biggest thing on the list might have been tomato soup. That's nothing but just pretty much juiced tomatoes. But no chicken noodle soup, no broth, none of that stuff, because they actually want to clear the system. And the broths, all that contains salt, all these little things. So they basically was like, can't do none of that. Don't you know that lady who went on that plan, she actually lost so much weight. I mean, just within the first them 2 weeks she was on that plan, she lost, I think it was like close to 6 pounds, but she got off her blood pressure medicine. And that was the biggest thing. Her blood pressure was low. It stayed stable. She would always have blood pressure issues where it would go up and down, up and down. Just 2 weeks of juicing. I told my aunt, I said, well, that lady did that. And I said, well, why don't you do this? Just go out as long as you can. That's what I did when I did the veggie diet. I went for 7 days. No, it was 2 weeks. I went 2 weeks doing the veggie diet, and I implemented fish within that second week. And I just did fish and vegetables for I think a month and a half, and then that's when I started back, eating a little bit here and there, because just not eating bread over time, like I was missing literally like the sandwiches, mainly craving sugar. That's all it was. And the crazy part, they said there's a lot of sugar and cheese, but who knows? Like everything's killing us. But the main thing that got me to that level was eating so much fruit. I was eating so much fruit and didn't even know, like at the time I was reading it now, that fruits are your cleansers and vegetables are your builders. So, a lot of people tend to build more muscles doing it that way. Fruits are more or less cleansing real good. And it got to a point to where, more or less, I was like, man, I'm happy with this. Like I'm loving this field for myself. And I just started encouraging other people, like, hey, man, let's get on it. Let's try to work it out. So I started getting my family involved, start getting them doing more or less. But everybody goes up and down. I mean, say the least, nothing lasts forever. But I'm going on a diet tan. But but getting in back into it, like I said, as far as dealing with your past, you know, letting go of your past, it helps you with your future. Whether it be in relationships, whether it be in dealing with your money. A lot of people financially dread to be broke like they were back in the day. I've talked to people say, man, I was so poor, I didn't have nowhere to stay. I was sleeping in my car. I was this, I was there's one guy, he was saying how they used to go to the store and get samples and eat them so much to, try to fill up on samples and stealing food. And he was like, man, I felt so bad about that because I didn't have no money. You know, I seen that guy, Homie and a Hellcat. If anybody know the story about them, this guy got $50 million from selling his streaming service called Reloaded, and he didn't want to go back to his past. This guy was living to the point where he didn't have enough money for shoes. He didn't have no food. He would literally wear slides with socks in the wintertime because he didn't have no money for shoes. And he stayed in Philly. So that was crazy within itself. And it got to a point where he started doing things, making money. And he was like, man, I don't want to go back to this. I don't want to go back to the past. I don't want to continue living like this. I want to, be better. So it got to a point where he started bettering himself, bettering his life, and everything worked itself out. Where a lot of people, man, like if you deal with your past and grow, you'll have a newfound freedom or trust for things. A lot of people don't like seeing their past head on. They want to just push it to the back. You had a bad relationship. You never had any closure. Have closure for yourself. You don't technically have to deal with the person to get closure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a method to it. A lot of people study, and the more you enhance your mind, you start learning, ways of eating, making yourself better. But, a lot of times, like I say, for the closure part, closure, you should be able to do that for yourself. You know, Truthfully understand your faults and your issues within your relationship and move on. A lot of people, they live in their head. They never do anything wrong. You know, Holding yourself accountable is hard because that means you have to look at yourself in the mirror. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of people don't put themselves in the other person's shoes and saying, if this person would have did that to me, I would have did it this way. Because I mean, Needless to say, I see so many people do bad things. I literally seen this lady gaslight this man. Whether it was a joke or not in the video, I know one of them I seen wasn't a joke, but the one that was a joke, I think it was kind of spin off of that video to where the man had a camera in the house and he caught this, woman messing around with another man, you know, and when he told her he had a camera in the house, she told him he had trust issues. He should have told her that he had a camera in the house at all times. She would have been on her best behavior. Why you just can't be on your best behavior without me knowing? And why I gotta have trust issues because I pointed out a situation where you got caught. He was like, the camera's been there before you got there. I didn't just put them in. It's like that's something that I didn't tell you. And it was crazy. It's like to a degree, when you have situations like that, man, I mean, in your head you done nothing wrong. Just be truthful. Like you gotta look at yourself in the mirror. If that was to happen to me and someone did that, if the roles were reversed and that man did that to her, how would she actually feel? Like, oh, you cheated on me in the house and I had cameras. And he tried to gaslight you. Would you even go for it? So a lot of times it's like situations you put yourself in, just being truthful, just yeah, you were right. I was wrong. Um, let's go from there. A lot of people don't want to admit fault. That's a part of growth about being mature. All right, Nikki. And when it comes down to it, a lot of us need to just be more mature about our behaviors and the way we act, the way we move, you know? Because like I said, it comes to a point where you have to have some understanding and the things that you do are going to affect you moving forward to your future, you know, issues with your past that haunt you. So let go in the past and moving forward could make you be a better person. It's just to the point where how many of us are going to actually do that, move forward? How many of us going to actually, do the right thing and, hey, let bygones be bygones. That situation happened. It doesn't define me. It doesn't define me. It doesn't make me be the person I am. And a lot of times we have to go through that and have that conversation with ourselves and our talk. But with that being said, shout out to everyone. Shout out to everyone. Just small little understanding. This is supposed to be Wellness Wednesday, but kind of jumped in on a Thursday because I had a lot of things going on yesterday. And tomorrow, we're gonna joke and play, talk about finance, and hopefully I'll be back 7:30 or in the afternoon, whatever my normal time in the morning, 7:45. But till then, shout out, hey, you know what I always say? Get your budget together. Get your budget. Write down your stuff. Check your account. Make sure you're not overspending. If you're planning for your future, start now. Honestly, I always say I don't want to be that 50, 60-year-old guy talking about I'm getting my life together. If anything, I'm gonna be the 50, 60-year-old guy talking about I'm getting things together to make myself better. You know, I'm tweaking some things, but I don't want to be the one that says, "Man, I got to get my life together." No, I should be tweaking some things to, better fit my life to be more equipped to handle things that come along. Not just, man, I got to move in with my son. I'm failing on this job. You should have a savings for that. It should be a point to where you establish to where if you're renting an apartment, renting a house, be stable. But with that being said, you know what I say when I get out here. Shout out to everybody in here. Oh yeah, I always forget. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Once you know what I always say. Here we go. Peace. Peace.